Welcome back. Here's where you left off. Spoilers ahead for the audiobook dramatization of Armored, Book 1 by Mark Greaney.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about Armored, written by Mark Greaney. And this is going to be the audio dramatic series from Audible. This is not the book version, this is the dramatic series. The reason why we choose this book to review in today's episode, because there's something in it that it piqued our interest, because the whole thing was recorded and edited through Dolby Atmos. So the feel of it is completely different. That's why we're reviewing this. So to make a long story short, it's all about mercenaries helping the UN in Mexico against the drug cartel, and next thing you know, there's chaos ensued. Derek, what do you think about this book?
Well, I enjoyed it a great deal for the quality of the audio that came out. The characters, the acting in it was really well done. Our main character, Duffy, who's sort of down on his luck, a special operator who's trying to make ends meet. It kind of amazes me that this is an actual story that happens, that these guys that go in special forces make this, when they do contract work, make this insane amount of money as mercenaries. When they're in the military, they make money, but if they get injured, then they're really stuck in a hard place. And it's so fascinating in this book to have both the husband and the wife. The wife was an officer, and she was, I think, a captain or major.
Yeah,
or
she's
like
a captain, flies Apache helicopters.
So she's a helicopter pilot, and so she's an officer even. So she would be making more money. And then by the time we rejoin them after all the events of the book, we see them in this horrible situation where she's cleaning houses and he's a mall cop. I mean, how do you go from, flying an Apache and being a tier 1 operator to just doing that kind of stuff? And because your resume, if you do that right out of high school or something, I get where that comes from, but there's always transferable skills. And I just wonder, what does the world look like when you can't transfer those skills into a normal life? Like, there's organizational skills, there's all kinds of skills we could belly off, but I just found that when we started the book to be very interesting. Maybe it was over dramatized for the plot, maybe to give them a reason to go and do this, but it seems like it's more common than you would think. I've heard of this happening to veterans and so forth that have these problems coming back after they've served, and I just thought I wondered if it was a commentary on the armed forces in this day and age.
I think it is, because there's two sides in this one. What you actually said there. The first one is Joshua Duffy, the main character, was a tier 1, right? He met his wife when he was saving her when her Apache and her crew crashed, right? That's how they met. Fast forward, Duffy became a mercenary, doing a close detail in Lebanon, and unfortunately his detail got assassinated, so he was ordered to release the wife of the primary. But Duffy is actually a super nice guy. He's a tier 1, but he's not a one of those typical warmongering, quote unquote, person. He's there to actually protect people, right? So he was protecting this woman, the wife of the primary in Lebanon, and while he's trying to protect her, he actually got injured and he lost his leg, right? And after losing his leg, the only thing he can do left is to be a mall cop, and his wife, a captain in the army as an Apache helicopter pilot, ending up leaving the army because she had to take care of their kids and himself and Duffy, because again, I'm not sure if you guys are listening to this episode. If you're not from the U.S., you have to pay your healthcare up front, right? So their medical bills became so much that I think they mentioned it was $30,000 every time they get a new leg. That's how expensive it is compared to other countries. We have universal healthcare. But you're right. It is a commentary of how the world sees war heroes, right, and how they get treated. And this is a great commentary. This is a great op-ed of the author, and say, hey, they risked their life to protect us, and this is how we treat them now, right? They have to. There's no support for them after coming from war and all that stuff. So it's a great it's a great example of an opinion that everyone knows, but some people do brush it aside and they just call it like, you're just a warmonger, and unfortunately this is the only thing they can do, right? And for him being a mall cop, that's all he can do because he doesn't have a leg, right? And while he was doing his shift in the mall, he bumped into one of his buddies that, hey, I'm meeting up with a job to go to Mexico to do work, right? And Duffy's like, I need money. I need to support my family. So he volunteered to go, right, to this mission. And the mission is to protect UN delegates, to talk to the drug cartel to minimize the death overall and the displacement of their people in the Sierra Madres mountains, right? So it's a great intro to the scenario that they're getting into, right?
I agree. The plot line, he goes down there to make money. And it's an odd way he runs into his buddy, to get him the job. He goes down to do this. It's great money, but you're going down to Mexico, and it's funny because the story is kind of told from the wife's perspective, in a sense. And during the whole time, she's the only adult in the room where she's like, "This is a bad idea. This is not a good idea. We shouldn't go and do this." And he still goes and does it, even though she has these huge reservations about it. And when he gets into the bad places there down there, gets in the firefights, he's calling her and saying, well, things are looking a little odd. And she's like, get out of there. And he's like, no, I'm not going to. I'm sitting here. So, but what I want to talk about actually a lot here is the difference, when we're talking about the plot line here. I didn't necessarily find the plot line too surprised. There wasn't any plot points in here that I necessarily was like, oh, shock. My thanks to the writer for making an attempt to sort of do a loop around, but I think I've watched way too many NCIS episodes to get tricked by a plot. It's sort of this idea in NCIS where you'll see the bad guy in another role, and then he comes out to be this other guy in the end, right? And I've seen it way too many times, so I saw that coming a mile away. I personally saw it coming a mile away. But the funny thing is that the writing, that doesn't mean that it wasn't good writing. It just means that I saw it coming a mile away. And the thing that I enjoyed a lot was twofold. One, the acting was great in this, and it does bring a different level of experience when we're listening to an audiobook versus reading yourself. You get it in your head, you get those voices, you get everything. But when somebody's actually voicing it, in a way, it's like watching a TV show, even though it's in your head. The only thing you're doing is getting a visual of what's happening in that moment. Now, as an audio guy, I'm sure you have a lot of comments on the audio side of it, but as more of an amateur here about this, I'm going to say that they did a really good job, both into the descriptive piece, but also the audio of bullet firings and gunfights and so forth. What did you think about that aspect of it from a more technical side versus the plot? So
the technical side of this whole audio drama series was fantastic. It's one of those things that, like I mentioned before, it was recorded or post-production in Dolby Atmos. So that means if you put this audio drama book or drama on a Dolby Atmos system, right? Even your home theater system with Atmos in it, you will feel immersed into the storyline, right? in my opinion, this is the next level of audio drama series, or even just a standalone story.
Because is it from a technical side? Like, give me some examples here.
So that's actually a good question. The reason why I'm saying that is there's two ways you can listen to an audiobook or an audio series or audio drama. One is using headphones, and the other one's on a surround. Well, three ways: surround sound system like an Atmos, or even an old THX system or whatever, or even headphones, wireless headphones. Because some headphones do have surround sound capability. For example, here's a great example here: Apple. If you buy an Apple headphones, you can actually get it's called a sphere or it's almost like a surround sound on your headphones, right? And it's enhanced through the device itself. If you ending up listening to there, for example, if you ending up watching Apple TV on your Apple headphones, or even Apple headphones, when you actually look at the screen itself, when you turn your head right and left, up and down, the audio remains where the screen is. Right, and if you start developing surround sound in your headphones, just because everything is digital, you actually feel everything's actually wrapped around you, right? In this case, if you're just listening to just regular headphones, how Atmos and how it's been post production, how it gets done, you can actually move the audio sound back and forth just using headphones, right? It's just making you feel where the sound's coming out. Like you're like, for example, if you heard the sound on your right hand side, the audio is actually on your right hand side. If you hear the audio behind you, there's ways you can do it to phase the audio and all that stuff to make it sound like you're behind you, right? There's a lot of ways you can do that. Sorry, go ahead.
We don't usually get into technical talk.
No,
we don't usually do that. But the reason I'm asking the question is because the choice of doing that, does that really make it? Is this new way of doing it something that you think will be more standardized now? I didn't necessarily have that experience that you're mentioning. I didn't have the surround sound. In fact, a lot of people listen to audiobooks to experience those things while they're driving or while they're running or something like that. So I don't necessarily think it's going to translate into the average person's experience. But that's something that the producers of this wanted to give the audience that effect. Do you think?
It is. Like you said, if you're not equipped to listen to immerse sound system or a soundscape, for example, you don't have to have thousands of dollars. You can just buy yourself a very good headphones. It will replicate somehow, just using two channels in your headphones, right? So it's very. The way they did this, it is doable for complete Atmos surround sound or compared to just stereo headphones, right? So you can definitely do that in both ways. And you actually posed a question: is this could be potentially the future of audio drama? Because remember, back in the day, the audio drama is coming from your radio and AM. That's mono. Now it goes to stereo because you're doing FM. So now when digital started coming out, everything's in stereo. Right, so now we have this technology to have a drama series, an audio drama series that you can walk around on your day-to-day stuff. You don't have to worry about watching, but you still get the same feel of watching a surround sound movie, right? And the question you asked is this the future? Yes, it is the future. It's going to be a very slow adaptation, in my opinion. The reason why is, let's just say, there's a lot of work to put this together. The reason why is this: if you get a copy of Armored in a regular audiobook, it's 16 hours long. But if you get the dramatic version of this book, like what we're talking about here, it's only 5 hours and change. Reason why is all the description that they do, they made it to a sound effect. They made sure that the audience feel if Duffy and his team is running, you can feel that they're running. You know they're running in the middle of of a forest, middle of the rainforest, or in the middle of a desert, in the middle of a concrete jungle, for example, or in a town, because you can feel the footstep, because you can feel what they're hearing. You can hear birds twerping at the background because in the middle of a forest, or you can hear cars zooming past by you if you're running the opposite direction of traffic, right? Those kind of things, it makes you feel be part of the storyline, not just a reader or a listener. You're actually in it, right? So if you ask me the question, is listening to an audio drama on a Dolby Atmos surround sound better than watching a Dolby Atmos movie? I'm letting you know right now, if you literally listen to an audio drama with the same set, with surround sound, and you're in the middle of it, and close your eyes, or just feel everything, you feel part of this whole thing, right? So this is why when I suggested to you, Derek, we should listen to this book because of the story itself, because not the regular book, but the Dolby Atmos one, because it has this amazing sound effects. It feels like you're just immersed to this whole storyline, right?
Yeah, I agree. It was very immersive, and I did appreciate that a great deal. It's also nice having multiple voice actors in there. It gives a little flair to it. The story itself was a good story. I criticized it because I figured it out well ahead of time. But in the beginning, you were guessing a little where would the betrayal come from, who was betraying them. That was pretty well hidden in the book. I give them credit for. I think some of the supporting cast characters, I keep saying cast, I'm going to say characters now because that's what we're really talking about. Some of the supporting characters here weren't as fleshed out as I would have liked it, because in the dramatized version, you feel that more than you do in a book per se. When you have a sub character like his team, right? Some of them died, some of them got beat up, some of them, there was a lot of stuff happening with that. And I especially liked when they shot the other plane out of the sky, because I haven't read the book and I'd like to hear the descriptive stuff about that, because I thought that was well done. They did the explosion, they did the launch of the rocket. I thought all that was really well done. It was one of those, I'll call it action moments, that I thought that, unlike some other audiobook dramas we've reviewed, I felt like the action was well done. I felt like I was invested in the action, that it was realistic. I was invested. And rather than reading about them shooting a bunch of bullets and receiving return fire and reading those lines, that engaged you a little bit more. Did you sort of have that immersive experience with it?
I did. I felt that when you made, let's use the example of when they shot the SAM from one plane or from the ground. No, from the plane to plane. It was well done, because there's a few things I was listening to. One is the dialogue, for sure, because the conversation between characters were good, right? And the other one's the sound effects. And I think we had this discussion already several in the Soldier in our episode, that if you're having a conversation within a closed space, you have to look at that closed space. In this case, they were having a conversation within a small plane, and you feel claustrophobic when you're listening to it, because you feel like everyone's talking on top of each other. The engine is rolling. You get the muffled sound from the engine through the door. So as soon as they open that door to fire the missile, you can actually hear the engines getting louder, because when they open that door. Even the details of, like, when they open the door and hit the stopper, you can hear that boom sound, right? You hear all that. That's why you felt part of it, right? Even when they shot the missile, you feel the ship sort of like it has that, like, boom sound, right? Especially from the distance when the missile hit the other plane, because from distance wise, you're not gonna hear high. You hear the low end first before you get the high end sound, right? Because of the distance and sound pressure and all that good stuff. So you feel the low end first, right? And that's how it's supposed to sound like. And that's why you feel that you're part of this whole thing, right? Even here's a good example when they had a dialogue between the characters right beside each other versus on the armored tank, right? Compared to when they're talking outside. The armored tank, you feel a little bit more echoey, right? But by the time you go outside, it's more open. That tells me that they move from one scene to the other scene. They're using that audio clue to tell you where they are. All right, this is a great example from this audio series because they follow those rules. They follow what makes sense in a real world. That's why I was very invested in the story in this book because it gave me that experience, right?
I did enjoy it. Yeah, I really did enjoy the audio aspect of it. What did you think about, because we're talking a lot about the technical side, which we don't normally do. What did you think about the plot? What did you think about the characters involved in it? Like, what was your favorite part there?
Personally, I really like Joshua Duffy, the main character, because it shows when he was strong, when he was vulnerable, when he's trying to pick himself back up, and he became strong again. You saw that progression because some characters are very like only 3 steps. It's like you're the best. You went down because you injured yourself. Now you're back up and you become who you used to be. In this case, Joshua was, I was the tier 1 guy, moved to move as a hired gun. I lost my leg. I was weak. I was down. I was hurting. I don't know what to do, how to help my family, how to support my family. I have to overcome this. I have to start looking for jobs. I become a mall cop. I run in the morning, right? And now I'm doing mercenary work to support my family, but I have to hide this disability that I have because no one's going to respect me if I do, because it was a team lead. Right? And when everyone found out, it did not stop him to say, okay, you found me out now, so I'm just going to crawl down in the corner. He stood up and was like, listen to me.
I wish you would have had like a gun in the stump or something. I just wish you would have done something cool like that, have a gun in the stump or something like that. That would have been pretty cool.
Well, I was hoping that they'll shot his leg and people was like, whoa, you didn't feel that shot on the leg? Don't worry about it. It's all good. Right? But the Duffy was great for that one because there's this amazing story about him as a person, right? And how he overcome that. And that was great. That was amazing. The other one as well, too, is his buddy that actually recruited him into the mission, to this job itself. He was the same thing, too. He was down in luck. He got his man killed because he wants to go back to the base so he can have a chili dog and he gets people killed, right? Those kind of things. And that's when we found out that everybody in his group, right, Charlie and the Delta group, had Bravo and Charlie has one thing in common for both groups. They're all rejects, right? And even Duffy even says they're all, to his wife, they're all fucking rejects here. Sorry, part of my word, quote unquote. They're all rejects here, and they know what they're doing, but the attitudes are so bad that I'm afraid I'm gonna get killed here. Right? And that's when his wife would just come home and it's like, screw this, just go home, right? But at the same time, he has this thing that if everyone's here as screw-ups, I'm here too as a screw-up. Let's make this, I just want to go home and make sure everyone goes home at the same time. And the common goal that they have was to go home the same time, alive, right? It doesn't matter if they're screwed up in their old unit or they get dishonorably discharged or whatever. Their goal is to do the job. They know how to do their job. They just need to have that push to do their job, right? And Duffy was there because he saw the issues and the negatives that they have. He made it to a positive, right? And that was nice. That was really, really nice to see. And as you said already several times, that it's very predictable, the storyline. But at the same time, it was very well done. Doesn't matter if it's very predictive and very, very obvious, but it's the journey itself to get where it is. I
actually felt like the ending was a bit flat in a sense. And I mean, I suspect this is a great example of where in the book it might have been more descripted out about the tension, because in the audiobook, he has his wife, he has the gun pointed at her head, he probably just shot him in the head, or whatever that might be to get rid of the threat. But you don't really get a sense of that in the audio drama, because neither character refers to it because the guy's dead, because he's described it in the book to have shot him, right? And I felt like that's a good example of an audio drama taking away from the moment where a book could give more tension in that moment. Do you see my point on that?
Yeah, and I definitely understand what you're saying there. It's the difference between this audio drama versus the book itself. You're right. We are missing some tension, some aspect of it, and what they did in the audio drama is they try to do the best that they can based on the tonality of the voice, for example, instead of just reading the script itself as a very monotone. They use their voice to provide tension, right? And you do lose some detail on the audio side compared to the book side, but it is very forgiven enough that it's there. But no, I agree with you. If you read that portion, I bet you if you read that portion of the book, it's a little bit more tense, right?
It's more descriptive, I suspect, right? And the reason I mention it is that there's a lot of benefit to the dramatic side of it. I very much value that, but there is also a problem with losing that from the book. So let me ask you this: How would you rate this? Let's just forget about the audio drama here for the moment, and just say, how do you rate it?
I'll rate this 8 out of 10. Because without reading the original novel for this one, based on what I just heard through this drama series, I give it an 8 out of 10 because overall the storyline is good. I have no issues with the storyline. It is slightly predictable, right? But it's a very, very good book. I'd highly recommend this book. How about you?
I'm just sitting here thinking about it, and I'm trying to. I think I'll give it an 8.5 out of 10. And the reason I'm going to, the only critique I'm going to take out of it was the predictability of the plot in my mind. And I'm being very critical here about that, to be fair. I'm being very somebody who watches a lot of that police drama sort of stuff. And it makes a lot of sense to me where the plot was going. But I enjoyed the experience. And I think that maybe we should talk about the differences between various audiobook dramas, because you talk about this new process coming out. Maybe we'll do an episode in the future that discuss that. Join us next time as we review chapters 1 through 6 of Armored, Book 2, Sentinel by Mark Greaney. Thank you for opening the book with us today. Subscribe so you won't miss our next episode. We would love to hear from you. Share a review or email us at yourbookmarksinfo@gmail.com. Join us again right here where you left off.